Welcome. I'm glad you all can join us today. I am Varetta Huggins, your government contracting expert, and this is Government Contracts Pricing Your Proposal. I just wanted to let everyone know that your government agencies are open for business and they're looking for more government contractors. Federal government agencies are open, your state government agencies are open, and your county and city government agencies are open. And they have to keep their government operations going. And to be able to do that, government contractors are doing most of that work. So, wanted you to know that. All right, just a little bit about me. So, I have over 20 years of experience as a government contractor in the government contracting industry. I received my Bachelor of Science degree in computer science from Hampton University. And right after that, my first job as a government contractor was at NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. And with that, I was able to be a contractor, a government contractor, working directly on site with the government staff to be able to help them with their mission. That role was a computer scientist and engineer, and I was able to work with different scientists to be able to help them meet their mission. Right after that, I moved up to the Washington, D.C. metro area, and I started working with NOAA's National Weather Service. And in doing so, again, a government contractor placed on government site, and I was able to work with that office to be able to help them with their system engineering and software engineering type work. It was after that that I moved down to um, the Federal Aviation Administration. And while I was there, the work was slightly different. The work I ended up doing, and again, as a government contractor, working off site now, meaning not directly on the government site, but off at a contractor site. And the work I was doing there had to deal with creating requirements. And what that meant was I was creating the requirements for those to go into what's called a request for proposal. So think if you're a government contractor, for you to get a government contractor, you have to respond to an RFP. You have to respond to these requirements. The reason I'm telling you this because my first two jobs gave me the experience I needed to, if an RFP comes out and a contractor has to respond to those requirements, you have to be able to go and work in different functional areas to be able to meet those requirements or deliver on what those requirements are. Working with the requirements team at the FAA, that allowed me to be able to be on the other side where I'm working as a trusted advisor with what's called a PMO office, a project or program management office. And these are the federal folks who are creating those requirements to put that in a request for proposal to send out for a government contractor to respond to. So I'm able now to have the experience of working on both sides of the fence and wanted to share that with you. After FAA, I moved back up to NOAA's National Weather Service, and I became one of the first consultants hired to be able to work with a small business. And it was there where the CEO was working with us on government site, and we were responding to different needs of that PMO office. But the fun part for me was I was able to start talking to the CEO and ask him questions about how do you start your own company? What do you need to do? Shortly after, I started my company, V Project Management Consulting, while I was still working for this company in 2009. And I founded my company based on my strengths of IT project program and portfolio management. And it was during that time that After founding my company, I realized, okay, I have to now start doing all these things that's needed to become a government contractor. So, got my website, was able to get the employee identification number for my company. I registered my company with my state, got my DUNS number. Then I had to register as a government contractor. So back then it was ccr.gov, now it's sam.gov, but I needed to get a cage code for my company. And I remember going into that system and it was overwhelming. There were lots of forms to fill out, all these FAR clauses, and there were not much guidance on how to do this. So I felt like I was doing it all by myself. It took me about 4 months before I was able to complete it. Why? Because once you get into the tool, you realize you have to get these different things in place. I needed to get a bank account. There were other things that I needed to have in place that I did not have in place. So after 4 months of getting all that completed and all the work that needed to get done to be able to satisfy those forms, I was like, yes, completed my application, got my case code, and I was like, yes, I'm finally a government contractor. I was excited, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh shoot, how am I gonna get these government contracts? I don't know how to do that. So I started going to different webinars, seminars, different events that were sponsored by SB and local government just to understand the process. And one of the things I found out that was the same is they were telling me what to do, but they weren't showing me how. So I would get back to my office, pull up my computer, and I'm like, okay, I just learned how to do this, this, and that. And then I'm like, I'm not sure if I should do this. I'm not sure if I should do that. So the how was important to me, but no one was telling me that. And that's what was missing for me. So eventually I figured it out. And one of the things I realized that would work for me was let me just put my resume out there, find a job. And I did that, put it out there. But the main thing I kept telling them is I'm only going to do this job if it's a corp to corp. What that means, it will be my company with their company, meaning it will go under my employee identification number. And finally, I got a position. It took me probably about 9 months after where I got a position. I was able to start after that. And while starting, I realized still needed more stuff. I had to get a business license, um, more like a liability insurance, different other things I needed to have to put in place. So I was still getting things ready. Realized around that time that I needed to go register as a woman-owned small business. So there was all these other things I still needed to put in place even after getting my first subcontract. And then while I was there, I was working directly with the Federal Aviation Administration. That was my first contract. I remember going to their small business office, telling them what my goals were about government contracting, and they pointed me to a direction to get on to start applying for a contracting vehicle. It was a small business contracting vehicle that was just put out. So I started all the paperwork for that, completed my response. I had to do a technical and a price proposal. We submitted that 2 months after. And 5 months after that, we got the notice that we had gotten the award um, to be a master contractor on that vehicle. And we were excited again, but still no contract. So then I spoke with my client that I was working with at the time, my federal client, let them know we had just gotten on this contracting vehicle, if there's any work that they needed that could be done under that vehicle. And we got our first government prime contract as a result of that interaction. And it was exciting. I'm telling you this because as a small business, you can go from a small business of 2 people to 10 people in a matter of one contract. And we were able to staff up for those who had to be on government site. We put a couple people in our back office to be able to help with all the other deliverables, the overhead deliverables that needed to get done. And again, an exciting time for us. We got the contract. We were focused more on just getting that contract and delivering on it. And then about 6 months after, we noticed that there was a reorg happening with that agency, that office. And we found out right after that that they were letting go, or several of their contractors. So several of us, including our contract, was on the list to get cut. So it was a really hard time for us. Now I had to start letting go all the people we had just hired. Things went south very quickly. And it was during that time that I realized, you know what? People fail, but systems win. I did not have a system in place to help me with government contracting. I was focused more on one contract versus how do we go after more contracts. I didn't have other partners or other government contractors with us that would be able to go after more government contract. I didn't have all the certifications that we needed to have in place. So there were all these things that we needed to be doing as a government contractor that I was not doing. And it's because I didn't have that system in place. So again, very low time for me. And then it was during that time I got a call from a friend of mine who we had worked on a contract together. And he was like, "Hey, Varetta, I just got a subcontract. Can you help me? I need to figure out how to start my company as a government contract." And I said, "Sure, sure, I can help you with that." And I was able to help him with all the paperwork he needed to become a government contractor. Since then, he's made millions in government contracting. Well, he started sending all his friends to me, and next thing you know, I'm helping all these other people become government contractor, and then they go off and start making a lot in government contracting. Well, in 2017, it was a small business expo just like this, where I needed to figure out that system. I needed to have that system in place. And I met a business coach who walked me through some of the things I needed to put in place for my company and how I could do that. And I bought his program, and I was able to work with him for several months on different things to get my company set up, to get that system set up. And it was during that time he was like, "Hey, Varetta, do you know how many small business owners out there wish they knew more about government contracting? Can you figure out a way to help them?" And it was during that conversation that um, I started the VGovCon program. And it's basically a program. We have boot camps, we have different strategy sessions, we have workshops like these. We travel across the US informing other small business owners about government contracting, how they can become a government contractor. And then we start working with them to be able to help them through that process. So that's what it is that we're doing. And again, all during that time, I'm still working on my government contracting side of the house. So we've gotten subcontracts, other contracts since then. And so we're doing government contracting, and we're also helping small business owners become government contractors. So what I wanted to talk to you today about the 3 secrets why you should be doing business with the federal government. So secret number 1, there is money budgeted for government contractors. And a lot of people don't know this. And there are 24 federal agencies that every year they have to come up with what that budget looks like. And I can tell you, each of these agencies, they have a chief information office, they have a chief financial office, they have a policy office, they have a programs office, just name the office. They all have them under their agencies. So there are lots of different offices under these agencies, and they all have budgets also. And they're all doing business where they need, for their operations to continue, they need government contractors to help them with their mission, to help them be able to perform on all their mission and objectives. And they can't get it done alone. So how do they get that done? So based on their budget, they have to figure out what part of that budget is going into contractual services and supplies. So this slide shows you in fiscal year 2019, and it's broken down into 4 quarters. There was over $900 billion spent on government contracting. Did you hear me? I said 900 billion with a B. Now, I wanted you to understand that because that's how much money is in government contracting. Now, if you look at this chart, Department of Defense, they get over 50% every single year. Over 50% goes to Department of Defense because they're the ones dealing with the Air Force, the Army, and all that, all those different departments under that. Yesterday was Veterans Day, so I wanted to let all the veterans on the call know, thank you for your service. But if you qualify as a veteran and you're a small business, there's something I have to tell you later, but government contracting could make a huge difference in your company. Now, here's secret number 2, is that 23% of all that money that's budgeted for federal contracting is reserved only for small businesses. 23% is reserved for small businesses. So if you look at the calculation here, 23% of over 900 billion is over 200 billion. We're still in the billion. So if you're a small business out there, government contracting, you should start thinking about, how do I get into this? Because this could make a huge difference for your company. Now, with that, there are federal government, all these agencies. So if a prime contract goes to a large business, 23% or at least 23%, that means they can have more. So there are targets that these large businesses have to meet to ensure that they're giving some of that contract to small businesses. Now, also out of the 23%, you have 16% of that dollar that has to go to small businesses that meets a certain socioeconomic condition. And that leads us to secret number 3. 60% of all budgeted federal contracting dollars is reserved for, you've got 5% going to women-owned small businesses, another 5% going to small disadvantaged businesses. You've got 3% going to veteran-owned small businesses. So veteran-owned small businesses, if you're on the call, you've got 3% that's going to you. But you have to become a government contractor and then go and be certified as a veteran-owned small business to be able to get access to these dollars. And then another 3% going to hub zone companies. Now, this is another table that shows you that breakdown. What I want to tell the veteran-owned small businesses out there, it's either veteran-owned, if you qualify as service-disabled veteran-owned, that's also under the veteran-owned category, and again, 3%. For those businesses that are in zip codes that are considered hub zone zip codes, you qualify for a hub zone. Again, a lot of these federal agencies are not meeting their 3% goal. And just think of it this way. If there's an award out there and that award is only for a hub zone or only for a veteran-owned, if a company is trying to bid on it and they don't meet these categories, these socioeconomic categories, they can't bid on it. They need a hub zone company to bid on it or a veteran-owned. So I want you to understand that there's money reserved only for these socioeconomic targets. So I just told you the 3 secrets. Number 1 is over $500 billion every year that's awarded to government contractors. Secret number 2, 23% of that is reserved only for small businesses. And secret number 3, 16% of that 23% is reserved only for small businesses with that meets the certain socioeconomic status. Now, I want to talk to you today about 3 steps to pricing your proposal for government contracts. So for you to be able to go after government contracts or increase your revenue for your small business in government contracting, your the first step is you have to be registered as a government contractor. Then once you've done that, the second step is being able to find subcontract and contract opportunities. And then once you have that opportunity, you now need to prepare responses to be able to go after that. And those responses will be a technical response and a price response. Now, I'm talking to you today more about preparing your price proposal as step 3, because I know most of you out there like, Varetta, I want to become a government contractor, but I want for you to tell me, show me the money. How do I go after that money? How do I get the money? So that's what we're going to focus on in number 3, is telling you how do you prepare your price proposal, because that's how you're going to get paid. So with step 1, you have to be able to register as a government contractor, you need a DUNS number. And that's basically, you heard me in my story talk about getting a DUNS number. It's a 9-digit number. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. It's issued by Dun & Bradstreet. We do have the link here. And again, you're going to get these slides. But that is something, if you're doing business with the government, this is the first thing you need to be able to do after you've already set up your company as a small business. Now, the other part is getting your NAICS code. So NAICS codes are North American Industry Classification System. This is how the federal government classifies any and every product or service that they buy. And they only buy things that are legal. So everything that they buy will be classified under one of these. And it starts with a 2-digit number, and then it ends up being a 6-digit number. So our primary NAICS code is 541611, Administrative Management and General Management Consulting Services, because we sell IT project, program, and portfolio management services. Now, you're going to need a primary NAICS code, and then you can have as many other NAICS code as possible that you can show that you can do business in. So again, you need a primary, and then you could add as many other NAICS codes that you need. And the link again is on the bottom here of these slides and how to get that. Now, the last step in this for you to register as a government contractor, you heard me talk about going into that database and getting registered, and it was to get my cage code. Now, right now it's sam.gov, that's where you go. And I will tell you, if this is all new for you, I would say get a government contracting coach or find someone who's done it before who can help you. It's a very tedious process, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can trigger an IRS alert. Why? Because a lot of these forms that you're filling out, they're integrated with other systems, and one of the system is irs.gov. So definitely get a coach who can help you with this. We do offer boot camps to help with this that we do in 2 days, in about 7 hours. So if you're interested in that, please contact us and let us know. But for you to be able to do this, you're going to need a DUNS number, which is what we talked about. You're going to need to identify all your NAICS codes. You're going to need your banking information, and all your business information should already be set up. And all this is what you need to be able to get that cage code. We've had people get their cage code between 4 to 30 days. So that's how long, once you get everything sent off to the government, they respond to you, and based on your response, you get that 5-digit cage code. And that means you're now a registered government contractor. So the next one is, how do you find the subcontract and contract opportunities? So you heard me talk about putting my resume out there. So that's a quick way to get a subcontract opportunity, is to be able to put your resume. For me, it was Career Builder. Now we have ZipRecruiter, Indeed, and other job sites. But put your resume out there. When you get that call, let them know you can only do corp to corp. Here's the reason why. Government doesn't want to do business with companies they don't know, or companies that don't have a past performance. So that's why you're doing it as a corp to corp, because you want to start getting past performance for your company. You're not going to get that if you're a W-2 on somebody else's company. You want to be able to do that under your company. And that's why you're doing it as a corp to corp. You can also search beta.sam.gov. Make sure you're looking for contract opportunities in that drop down, the first part when you get in there. And then you can search with keywords or you can search with NAICS codes, different ways for you to search. I do have a link to COVID-19 link that I'll provide to you at the end of these slides. But this is where you go. A lot of agencies are putting what they need on this site, and you can go and start looking at all the opportunities that are out there and figuring out how you can bid on them as a subcontractor or even a contractor if you're already a government contractor. But there are opportunities out there. Wanted to focus today more on preparing your price proposal. So we're going to spend a little time with this. But this is essentially, this came from beta.sam.gov, pulled it from a procurement opportunity, and then I just modified it a bit. So I know we're in COVID-19 and it looked like the numbers are going in the wrong direction right now. But in March, when the Washington, D.C. area was put on shutdown because of COVID-19, I got an email from USAID asking if I had any subcontractors or companies that I work with that had PPEs. And these were some of the things that they were asking for: N95 masks, hand sanitizers, shoe covers. And these are some of the quantities that they were looking for. So I put out, I think I did a newsletter or sent it out to my subscribers asking if any of the companies had any of this. And I did get one response. That was a really good, viable option for us. But it was during that time that they now had to tell me what the price is that they were going to ask me that I could be able to purchase it from them. Now, they had a vendor, international vendor that they were using, and more than likely they were going to get a price from that vendor. I could not put in here the unit price of what that person was charging me. I had to come up with a price that I'm going to charge the federal government, and that's what your unit price is here. So don't think it's the price that that vendor is charging you, and we're going to go over that now. But I wanted you to understand, when you do get requests for quote or a request for your price from a government agency, there's a lot that goes into that for you to determine what your total price is. So let's talk more about that now. So here's an example, and I filled it out for you so you can get an example. So we talked about the N95 mask. The guy I spoke with, he quoted me at $3.19 for the N95 mask. Now, more than likely, he's getting a profit in that somewhere, right? So I can't now take that $3.19 and sell it directly to the government. I have to add my cost to that for me to be able to determine what my unit price is. Now, notice the difference between the $3.19. For my unit price, I have $4.39. How did I get there? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I wanted you to understand the other parts of this. So notice when you're selling products, some of you are selling products, so it's going to be the unit is each. For those who are selling services, I wanted to add some things in here for you. So develop instruction by the hour, facilitation hours. So for me, notice those are by hours. So those are services. And normally you need, in my case, we're saying we need a trainer to be able to do this service. So we need 2 trainers to help us with that, to be able to develop those services. We're saying, you know what, let's get a subcontractor. We've got subcontractor trainers that we know that can help us with this service. Technical writer, alignment meeting. Those are 2 things that they're going to need. And again, their unit that they're using is hours and days. So we're like, you know what, my company can provide this. We're going to hire somebody to do this under a company. So I wanted you to understand, for direct costs, it's the cost of service In our case, if we're buying our product, it's the direct cost that we're getting for that from the vendor. If you're looking at our subcontractors, it's whatever cost that they're quoting us for that we're putting here. For our people that we're hiring or employees, um, the difference here is we're putting our ceiling costs. So let's say I have a tech writer who's going to do that work for me, and the price that they're quoting me is about $35 an hour. You want to use your ceiling just in case you have to add a little more later on. They come back and they want an increase. So you've got it covered if you have a ceiling rate in here, and that's what that this is for. So we're looking at $40 total to be able to help with those two, technical writing and the alignment meeting. The next one is our fringe costs. So fringe costs, think of that as your benefits, your payroll cost, your taxes, all of that that's included in your fringe costs. Now we calculated that to be 42%, and it's only because we've been doing this a while. Your fringe cost might be less than 42%. So notice all the other columns are empty because your fringe cost only applies to your employees. So we're multiplying 42% by 40, and that's how we get the 1680. Overhead costs, think of that as anything that's indirectly related to that contract, to the work that you're doing for that contract. So for us, it's getting someone in our back office to help with whether they're making the calls, doing the back and forth with the vendors. That person's doing that work. And it's the same thing down here, that we've got a back office person who's doing all the financial reporting, timesheet, and everything that's related to that, us having that contract. So overhead costs, if you have a contract, anything that's indirectly related to you having a contract will go under your overhead costs. For us, that's about 17%. And so you're multiplying your direct costs by 17% to get these costs. Now you're going to subtotal. So everything from direct costs all the way up to overhead costs, you're adding to your subtotal. Your G&A costs, which is general and administrative costs, think of that as anything that's not related to the contract. So if you have an office space, if you got insurance, everything else that you had already in place without you having that contract would go under your G&A. Your marketing costs, all of that will be your G&A. If you got you yourself as the CEO, you're paying yourself, that's coming out of your G&A. If you got a back office person, a percentage of their work will go on to G&A also. So all of that for us, that's about 11%. So we're multiplying the 373 by 11%, and that's what we're getting here in this column. So G&A subtotal, we're adding these two, and that's the subtotal here. Now you're in business to make a profit. I would say your profit should be between 1 to 10%. Why 1? Because by the time, sometimes when we submit 6%, if they come back and they're like, hey, Varetta, can you give us a discount? The discount is coming from our profit. So we say 6%, but by the time we complete all this, it might have jumped down to 4%. But notice that with direct costs, we've got a little more extra money here that we're making. So that's also profit. If we're having somebody that's charging $35 an hour, but we're charging the government $40, we're making a little profit there. You're also making a little profit in some of these other things that you have listed here. So that's how we're getting to a unit price, and that's listed here. Notice the difference between the direct cost. So if you didn't know all of this and you're like, okay, the guy quoted me $3.19, and you go and use your direct cost as your unit price, this was over $5 million right here. Now look at the total price down here. This is $7.7 million. So the big difference here is over $2 million that is what is the big difference with from fringe all the way up to profit. That's the difference. That's a huge difference. And that's where you're making your money is between the fringe and all the way up to profit. I hope that makes sense, but that's how your unit price should be, your fully burdened price. That's how you're getting paid. Hope that makes sense to you, but this is how you're getting your, in terms of government contracting, you're getting what they're asking you to provide, and you're adding everything else to that to be able to deliver a total price to the government and making sure that you're getting paid out of that. And that again, that will be your unit price now will be your fully burdened price. Hope all that made sense to you today. 3 steps to pricing your proposal. So we talked about first, you have to register as a government contractor. Second, you have to go out and find those subcontract and contract opportunities. And then you have to be able to prepare your price proposal and also your technical proposal. Some of them, if it's a request for quote, they only want your price. So it all depends on what the opportunity is asking you to prepare. All right, so next off, wanted to offer you, and this offer is only for our virtual small business owners. So if you're here on this call, this offer is for you. And this offer is called our VeteranOwned strategy session. We're offering you a 2 1-hour coaching session. And this will cover your goal. It also will cover your marketing strategy, where you are on the roadmap based on your milestones. If you want to become a government contractor, do you have all these things in place, all these milestones in place to be able to become a government contractor? And we'll show you what those milestones are on the roadmap to becoming a government contractor. If you already have those in place and you want to focus more on how do you go and obtain government contracts, we'll show you the roadmap to obtaining government contracts. What do you need to have in place also to be able to do that? We're also going to give you 30 days access to our training materials, our coaches, and our team. And think you'll be getting an email with actual procurement opportunities in your email. And that's just a link that you can click on and you go see all these opportunities based on the NAICS code that you provided us. Now, if you're on the call and you're a nonprofit, we haven't forgotten about you. We do have grant opportunities, so we'll be able to share with you grant opportunities. For the VeteranOwned strategy session for grant for nonprofits, we go through the first coaching call, and the second coaching call will be focused more on the grant part of it. We're also offering you a bonus where you get a free copy of my new government contracting book that's going to be published soon, and also access to our book launch community. Now, all of this is valued at over $18,000. But for today and for our virtual small business expo attendees, we're offering this for you for $360, 98% off today. And this is actually good up to tomorrow, Friday, at 11:59 p.m. So $360 if you're interested in working with us. And that's all I have. This is other information here. When you do get these slides, the last link on this slide, and Theo, thanks for putting that, is the COVID-19 procurement opportunities. So grab that. That is a direct link. Once you click on it, it will send you directly to current COVID-19 opportunities from now up to December 31st that are out there. You can click on them and figure out how to start applying for them. That's all. If Theo can now open up the chat, and if you have any questions, feel free to send it to me. I think I got about 4 minutes. And thank you all for attending, and I hope wherever you are in your government contracting journey that it will be successful for you. And again, government agencies are open. So fringe, great question. So fringe is basically, I'm going to go back to that slide. So your fringe benefits, think of all your benefits that you're offering. So if you're offering time off, holidays, all that they're paying for, if you're also offering training, it also covers your payroll cost, your taxes, all that's included in your fringe. Thanks, Ricardo, that you have PPE for sale. Contact us and we can steer you in the right direction. What is the average time to be rewarded a contract? It depends. Every agency is different. And it depends on which socioeconomic status that you already have. So the average time, if you're just generically from the time you respond, some agencies respond in about 90 days after. Some will respond to you in 30 days. And again, it depends on the number of contractors that responded. Sometimes if they only had 2 responses, they can get through that in 2 weeks. So again, it depends. I think I missed a couple. So Regina, do we have to be a subcontractor first to sell PPE products to the government? Not necessarily. It depends on the PPE product. So the question about being a subcontractor first, if you don't have a cage code, then you cannot sell to the government directly. The reason I said not necessarily because if they're interested in you and they want to do business with you, once you start the process, we can get you ready where if there's no other company have what you're selling, they want to do business directly with you, you still will have to get a cage code. So again, we can get you done in 2 days or less. If we're working directly with you, we can get that done for you in a day for you to be able to get your cage code. But PPE, that's needed right now, so they'll be willing to work directly with you. What is the most ideal way to price training services? Training services will be based on hours. So it's find out what the person wants for that training service, meaning whoever you're hiring, how much they need. And then you have to figure out your fringe, overhead, and all those after that. But I'd say add at least 20% to whatever they're asking you. That would be the quickest way. Can we have a copy of this webinar? It will be provided to you. Yep. Varetta, have a cosmetic. Can my business qualify for a contract? Yes. So anything that the government anything that they need. If you think military, anything that's on a military base, you can sell it. You could sell as a government contractor. Cosmetics, think a lot of these agencies have shops inside of their buildings. That's one way of having a shop inside. Another way, they use cosmetics for gifts. So that's another way. But the quickest way for you to go is go to beta.sam.gov, figure out your NAICS code, put in that NAICS code, and see what contracts have been awarded. For all those other people, you can join. I think my time is up. The person who's asking about the 360, so I ran out of time. If you guys can meet us in our booth, we're able to answer other questions there. So find us. It's on the V Project Management Consulting. Get to a booth, and we'll be able to continue to chat there and answer some of these great questions you guys have. But thank you all for joining. And Thea, I'm handing it back over to you.